Our chalice lighting words this afternoon are from the poet Albert Hufstekler, who writes, "We think we get over things. We don't get over things. Or say we get over the measles, but not a broken heart. We need to make that distinction. The things that become part of our experience never become less of our experience. How can I say it? The way to get over a life is to die. Short of that, you move with it. Let the pain be pain, not in hope that it will vanish, but in faith that it will fit in, find its place in the shape of things, and be then not any less pain but true to form, because anything natural has an inherent shape and will flow towards it. And a life is as natural as a leaf. That's what we're looking for. Not the end of a thing, but the shape of it. Wisdom is seeing the shape of your life without obliterating, without getting over a single instant of it. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln on this Sunday afternoon. We're gathered together to celebrate the life of Brice Braziel, a member of this congregation for many, many years. Memorials are powerful moments. They gather us together across time, across generations, across space as we travel. And each time we do, we are reminded of loss. This is the sad truth that the poet writes about, that each time we gather, we are reminded of the losses that we have had. So we are here today to remember Brice's life. And we begin every memorial service at this church with this reminder that memorial services bring to mind every other loss we've had. So if, in the next hour, you find yourself thinking about other losses, that's okay. That means that you're human. Take a deep breath and come back to this space, these people, this moment. Births, marriages, deaths. This is holy work that we do, and it is ancient work. We gather together in times of loss to comfort each other and to tell stories. In the tradition of this building, Unitarian Universalism, memorial services are about life and about story. We make no claims from this pulpit on what happens after death. We say that is up to each individual and your conscience. But we do know this: our lives live on in the stories that are told about us. And so that's what we gathered to do today, to tell the story of Brice's life. So this is a sad day. That part's true and unavoidable. Someone we knew and cared about is no longer with us. We gather sharing our sense of loss, but also sharing our sense of life. Because Brice Braziel was alive, and in his living he loved many people and was loved in turn. That love lives on in the stories we tell. So we'll begin with music. This is a piece by Enrique Granados, Epilogue.
I'm sure Brice had a copy of this reading, folded very tight, either stuck into his wallet or somewhere in the house that Leona will discover someday. Some Wishes for You by Charles Stephen. I wish for you a troubled heart at times, as woes of world and friend come close beside and keep you sleepless. I wish for you the thrill of knowing who you are, where you stand, and why. Especially why. Not prosperity, but dreams I wish for you. Not riches, but a sense of your own worth I wish for you. Not even long life, however proud we'd be to have it so, but life that is crammed with living, hour by hour. And love I wish for you. May you give it frequently. I wish for you solitude in the midst of company, and a mind full of company within your quiet time. Full todays I wish for you, and full tomorrows.
I will read to you Peaceful Retreat by Sherry Beadley Neal. And I'm not Jamie Radcliffe, I'm Duncan Case. Peaceful Retreat. Down a narrow, hidden path, sought out by wisdom's eye, a peaceful place of refuge calls. To come, rest a while beside. Listen to the waters falling over mountains steep, to gently flow for endless days through eternity's retreat. And on the far horizon of the never-setting sun, the harvest of the whitened wheat is very nearly done. As work on earth comes to a close, peace will be complete, surrounded by the beauty of eternity's retreat.
I wish for you, go Charles Stevens' words on a plaque as you walk into this sanctuary, not even long life, however proud we'd have it so, but life crammed with living hour by hour. Brice Braziel lived a life crammed full with living. And it is our role today to say something about all that. The Unitarian Universalist faith we preach here says two big things. One, that each person has inherent worth and dignity, and two, that we are interconnected. So what happens to one of us matters to all of us. When one rejoices, the community rejoices. When one mourns, the gathered mourn with them. That's why we gather at the end of a life. Brice Braziel's life was precious. He had inherent worth and dignity, and though he might be gone from this life, he is connected to us still. Because the ties that we form over a lifetime do not end in death. The number of people in this room is a demonstration of that. What has plated may certain rights cannot be unplated. I said at the beginning that we make no claim on what happens after death. That we leave that up to each person's conscience and their relationship with the divine, their understanding of God. But we do gather to tell stories, to remember the person that it's gone, and to reflect in doing so on how their life impacted our own. So we're here to tell stories, and let me tell you, there's some good ones. I've known Brice only in the last years of his life since 2017, so I had not heard, until an evening with Blaine, Jerry, and Leona, about Bryce's fiberglass period, where anything and everything that could be fixed with fiberglass, with judicious use of fiberglass, was, with whatever binding agent happened to be on hand at the time. I had not heard about bike trips across Europe or he and Leona meeting at a telephone company. I hadn't heard about 5 knee replacements, road trips across Mexico, cabins on Johnson Lake, or friendship force trips to Russia in 1983. Not a long life, but a life that is crammed with living, Charles wrote, and today would have been Bryce's 90th birthday. So, sometimes life is long and crammed with living, as it turns out. Leona told me the other day about she and Bryce's long association with Friendship Force, an organization that has as its mission promoting understanding, cultural education, and citizen diplomacy through homestay journeys and personal friendships. It seems to me, though Brice may not have framed it this way, that his life was a testament to the interconnection that we talk about on these days. For this was a life that touched people not just across this city or this country, but across the world. Not always in big ways, but in little ways. Getting stuck at the side of the road outside of Amsterdam, I think, and getting taken in by someone just passing. That is a connection and story that will live on both in Lincoln, Nebraska, and in the Netherlands for many years. So this is what we're here to do. Not to testify about what comes next. That's another adventure that we don't know much about. But to talk about the journey that we have been on together with this person that we loved. To speak not to the end of the thing, but the shape of it. All of you are here because your life was touched in some way by Brice Braziel's. So in a moment, Bill will play some music. Oh, I am going to kill this name. The piece is Blumengross by Ingeborg von Braunstadt. Close enough. As he's playing that piece, think about how you knew Brice. Think about the story of your life and where it connected with the story of his. What was a moment that you shared? What was a joke that made you both laugh? What was a moment that you will go forward from this day remembering here was a place that we were connected? After Bill plays, we'll invite you to come forward and share those stories, either from the pulpit here or the microphone on the floor. So for now, whether or not you're planning to speak, think about what you would say. What's the story that you would tell of this life? So we'll begin with remembrances from Bryce's granddaughter, Jenna, speaking on behalf of the family.
Today would have marked my grandpa's 90th birthday. He almost made it. Brice Braziel was vivacious, stubborn, and funny. He loved to swim, especially at the Y, and he taught me to love water as much as him. As you can see out front, he was an avid bicyclist. He biked from Lincoln, Nebraska to Steamboat Springs, Colorado for my parents' wedding, which is 613 miles. Even more impressive, he rode from Vancouver to Winnipeg, Canada, on his bike, which on average takes 5 days and is 1,425 miles. Brice also enjoyed many European bike trips and loved to travel with my grandma, Leona, around the world. He even considered moving to Australia at one point. Brice loved to laugh. He had an unforgettable laugh that you could hear a mile away. He loved to reminisce on all of the Braziel's adventures, or misadventures, I should say. My grandpa was an advocate for science and found it important to donate his body upon his passing to the Nebraska Medical Center, providing opportunity to learn more about the human body and potentially aid in breakthrough discoveries. Here we are at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln, which Brice felt gave him the ability to share his love for others who had different ideas and philosophies. Grandpa wasn't just a cool person to me, he was an inspiration. He supported the underserved and under-recognized communities, believing that everyone had an equal opportunity in the world. While Grandpa worked at the First Lincoln Federal Credit Union, he made sure everyone got a chance to follow their dreams, providing loans to those who could not typically get one. He will be missed, and I know we all can learn from his favorite motto, follow your bliss. Thank you for coming to celebrate Brice Braziel's life. We hope you can join us after the reception for some sandwiches and Brice's favorite food, pie, because he would never say no to pie before dinner. Thank you.
I've seen the pie gathering in the kitchen. It is a sight. So the pulpit stands open. Would anybody like to come share a story?
Well, I didn't really get prepared for this, but thoughts start cascading in at a moment like this. I was thinking, what are the things I take away from having known Brice over, several decades, and 3. He could be kind of grumpy sometimes, and I think one of the things he taught me is that as I have gotten older, that sometimes the grumpiest person in the room may be the most honest. And I think I have appreciated people who aren't just always gleeful. Brice told me a story about how he would get up early in the morning and sit on his back porch and a little closer to nature, listen to the birds, watch the small animals. And he had a book of collected stories or sayings, the things that had just struck him as meaningful. And he would take that book with him and read it out there on the back porch. And it struck me that he had written his own Bible. And in some ways, I thought he was the best Unitarian I knew. How many of us have written our own Bible? I visited Brice at the hospice. And he was not angry. He was not depressed. He had a comfortable relationship with the nursing staff there. And he taught me how, or at least showed me how, to face the final days with equanimity. And I think that's another lesson that I'll carry with me from Brice.
Well, I knew Brice for quite a few years also. He had a way with expressing how he felt about big things like big pharma, and he wasn't shy about letting you know. But like Alan said, he enjoyed the peaceful moments in the backyard with the squirrels and the birds. Occasionally, he would get down and feel like whatever problem he was dealing with was too long and would never end, and he would show up at my house, and we'd sit in the backyard for a while and talk about how he felt like this 3 years ago, and somehow it got better. So, and then as he got older and maybe a small bit larger, he would leave me bags of clothes all the time on my porch or inside of my house. So, anyway, he was a good guy.
I come to share 3 things about Brice. First of all, like the persons who have preceded me here, I've known Brice for 30 years by virtue of being a member of a common men's group. And, well, 30 years is quite a bit of time. And in the men's group, you often share parts of yourself and your biography. And so you come to know these persons quite personally. It's like a second family. One of the things that Brice and I had uniquely within the group was that our birthdays are the same. So happy birthday, Brice. And then I have my birthday today, and my sister was also born today, and her son, Tim, was born. So there we have 4 people all born on the same day. And the tradition in the men's group was someone would bring a cake to share with us all. And we tend to do this for everyone's birthday in the group. You heard mention of the knee replacements. Well, after he'd finished his 5, I came and done the 6 with my knee. I was well prepared. He let you know about his knee replacements. The third thing I'd like to share is something that I thought was very endearing. As I said, we tell aspects about our lives and our most, personal and important values. And Brice would say, when you see your children, and see, we're older, he was talking about his adult children, and he said, give them a hug. And I don't know how many times he said that over and over, and he practiced it. Well, at that time, I had my children very late. My first one was when I was 42. So I had little ones that were easy to hug, that were small. And so about that same time, my family, my sister and I, and my brother brought my parents here to Lincoln. And my mother is still alive. In fact, we go to see her after this in order to celebrate my sister's and my birthday and her grandchild's. But what I remember doing was that when my father arrived here in town and when I went to greet him up at the Legacy, is I'd give him a big hug. And he was just startled, but very appreciative, and tears came to his eyes, as well as mine.
I sort of had a feeling that women are not supposed to speak up here, but I thought I'd break the tradition. And you did, didn't you? Brice was part of a group of 14 that we met first. We would bring in food at homes and have big, meals. And then we kind of gradually got older, and we started going out to eat. Well, then we got so we didn't like to travel after dark, and so it was Leona's idea that we should meet once a month for breakfast, and so we did. And I often went to see just what Brice was going to talk about today, But I'll never forget when he asked me, he said, "Who did your knees?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, I need to have my shoulder done, and I think I'll have that man do my shoulder." Well, you know how Brice exercises, and of course, he did all the exercises that they told him to do for his shoulder, plus. And so when he went back, he said, "I don't think that doctor knows what he's talking about. He told me I exercise that arm too much, and that's why it hurts." And so I'd never met anybody who had exercised too much. And so that was a mystery to me. My son-in-law was devastated when he learned of the death of Brice, because every time we went to visit my son-in-law, he'd say, "What did Brice do this year?" I loved it because every time I'd see him, he'd say, "Hi, how are you?"
Got her.
I'm okay.
Mine is really short too, because I didn't know Brice as well as everybody. But both of them have to do with scooters. I guess that's what you call them. Is that right? And seeing him with Alan, kind of racing and zigzagging through the entrance area out here, and always wondering if they were racing or not. And the fact that if Brice was in a hurry behind me, I always felt like I should be in just as much of a hurry as he is if I didn't want to get run down.
Well, I've been in the church over 50 years, so I don't remember when Brice and Leona started going, but I've known them probably ever since then. But for years, there was a group of us of about 20 who met every month for games, board games. And we brought potluck dinner, and it was in homes. And it was always great fun and very lively. The conversations were always lively. And I had many a conversation with Brice one-on-one, and in which I held my own, which wasn't easy. But I love Brice, and I think everybody did, because Brice had a good heart, and he was very special. And I'll never forget him.
Brice was always in my life. He and Leona, on their first date, were at the hospital the night I was born. And it seems like all during my life. I remember Brice being there. We used to have so much fun at the cabin. We had a little cabin, and Brice's family and our family would meet at Johnson Lake and all sleep together in the same room and all play during the day, and we'd all bring food, and we'd all enjoy all the summers that I can remember, really, with our grandparents and cousins and people who were there. But he was just always there. He was there for all of us the whole time, whether we knew it or not. All we had to do was ask.
I don't know why I'm getting teary-eyed, because I hadn't seen him in years, but speaking of the cabin, that kind of brought up the story to my mind of him taking us out there. And it was a fun time. And we'd just gotten there, Kent and I, good friends with Kent most of our lives. And we were excited. We said, boy, we want to get in that boat and go out. The wind was blowing 50 miles an hour, probably. And this was probably one of the times, this made me think of this, that he probably didn't have that good a sense, because he let us go. And the whitecaps were about this high, and it was a big old boat. He probably thought, well, they're safe, they're okay. Of course, I doubt we had life jackets on or anything like that, right, Kent? We wouldn't have put them on. And we're bouncing across the waves, and all of a sudden the whole glass windshield came up and whisked right over our heads and shattered in the back of the boat. The waves had pounded it loose, and we're going, wow. My dad's going to kill me, he said. And I said, well, we're probably lucky to get back there, you know. So he was, well, yeah, I probably shouldn't let you guys go in front. So that's my fault, you know. So we had a lot of good times out there. One other short story was, I don't think he was really much of a hunter, but he said, by God, I'm going to take them kids hunting. He took us hunting, and dang it, I got a dog that's really something here, and I borrowed it from a client or a friend, I don't remember. He said, it's a pointer, and we went out to hunting, and boy, oh boy, you remember that? He fed that dog some kind of dog food that it wasn't used to. And, woo! On the way out to the hunting spot, oh, we couldn't even breathe in there. He said, dang it. I knew I shouldn't feed it that 2-cent can of dog food. I just had a bad feeling about that. But, boy, we got out there and we had a great time. Shot some birds, that dog pointed them, and you know, he was a good man. He took us, and you didn't have to wonder where he stood on subjects, because he was going to let you know. Stubborn, yeah, but, you know, good-hearted. He got a ticket on I-80, brand new. I think it just opened. And we were passing everybody, and I thought, man, heading to the cabin. We got to get there. And I'm thinking, but, man, how come we're passing everybody? And pretty soon, oh, yeah, here he comes. He said, you realize you were going almost 90 miles an hour? And he said, no, sir. My speedometer says 75, which it did. And boy, he was mad about that. But they didn't care. He got it calibrated and everything, and they said, sorry, you're going to pay the fine. Next time you'll know better, maybe. So I think he might have learned a lesson there, but he still wasn't happy about it. It's not my fault. So thank you very much.
say one last call for any more reflections or stories. And remember that there is pie, and pie is made to share stories over. But before we eat pie, we will sing. So in your order of service, there's an insert that has the words to one of the hymns from our hymnal that the family picked out. So if you would, please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing hymn number 168, One More Step. Before you sit down, look around this room. Look at each other. Look at each other's faces. Maybe you've been hidden behind masks for a long time. Maybe you don't recognize who that person is over there, but they recognize you. Look around and see the connections in this room. At the end of a life, this is what matters. Each life in this space was touched by Brice Braziel. Each person has a story. Our stories intersect. Please be seated. We'll close with these words from my colleague, Tracy Barrett, who writes, "Our grief is a holy thing. It is proof that another life touched ours in a profound way. It is the mark of love, the mark of connection, and the mark of a life well lived. We will mourn, we will cry, we will miss Brice. Time will move on. And we may not hurt like we hurt now, but then a thought or a bit of music or a smell will remind us of him, and it will all come back. Those moments too are holy. They're reminders of that connection that will never fully go away. It's important to hold on to that connection because it is through those memories that Brice stays with us. In our memories of him, that love and connection stay alive, and with it a part of him. So we shared some of those memories today. Hold on to those memories. Tell the stories that make you smile, the stories that make you laugh. Share the memories with people who knew him and people who didn't. May they remind you of the beauty of Brice Braziel's life, of his passion, and of his connection to us. And may it bring you peace on this day. Amen. I believe there is pie. So that ends this part of the service. I do invite you to keep telling those stories. Keep telling the ones that make you laugh, because those are the ones that make the pie taste better. Thank you for being here.